Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Attacking Three podcast transfer talk. This is part 2 of the podcast. If you're listening to this and you haven't yet listened to part 1, you need to go back and do that. We talk about transfers, ins and outs, fullbacks, and you can listen to part 1 on the Attacking 2 podcast, which I will link in the description of the details of this podcast and part 2, excuse me. Today, we're going to be talking about Callum Hudson-Odoi. I'm joined with my co-hosts, Jimmy and Andy, the hosts of the Attacking 2 podcast. And yeah, so basically, something I heard today that sort of made me want to talk about this at length with the boys is Raphael Honigstein talking about Callum. He was asked on the BBC Football Daily podcast what the situation was, and he was talking about how Bayern Munich, and you know, he would have got references relatively close to the club because of a journal of his stature and being German, of course, as well. And he speaks of how Bayern are very confident they're going to get the player. Now, I'm sure we'll discuss whether we think that's coming from the player directly or his camp or the parents. We'll get into all of that. But the Bayern stance on this was they really wanted Jadon Sancho, and they thought they were going to get him, and then he chose to go to Dortmund, and obviously, from right now, that looks like that was a great decision for him. And he's turned from like an £8 million player to a £100 million player. And Bayern, with their ego in Germany and indeed Europe, it's been hurt by that. And they, like many German clubs and people in German football, have been looking at English talent for like the last 18 months. It's been kind of in vogue. But they do believe, according to Raphael Honigstein, that they see Callum Hudson-Odoi as a more talented youngster than Jadon Sancho. And, you know, we could say what we want as biased Chelsea fans, and we don't have enough of a sample size yet. But hence, you know, the astronomical, to a degree, bid for an 18-year-old who doesn't play in the first team, who's got 18 months left in his contract. They're willing to break their transfer record and give him Robben's number 10 shirt. So I want to bring one of the boys in. Let's talk about what does Callum want? Okay, so I'm going to start with Jimmy. What does Callum want? What does his camp want? Is his camp, inverted commas, his parents? Just what's your 2 cents on the situation in terms of not what we know what Chelsea wants, we know what Bayern wants. What do you think about Callum Hudson-Odoi's camp at the moment?
That's a really shit question to get.
Well, you know, just think if you were in the player, if you're Callum,
I know what I have to answer. I just don't want to. The thing is, I do think that it will, to a certain degree, have to do also with his parents, because, you know, let's be real here. His parents are parents. They want what's best for their son. They've probably been driving into football practice, paying a lot of stuff that you need. They've been supporting him for a long time, and they just want what's best for him. And after this example of Jadon Sancho, who can blame them that they say, hey, go get that experience? If they really want you, then I can understand that, you know. The thing is, thinking that even though Robben and Ribéry are already old, that he immediately start week in, week out is ridiculous. He's still got Coman. They've still got
Gnabry.
They've still theoretically got James Rodriguez, who can play on the wing. And, you know, it makes no sense because Robben can still play there very well. You know, he's still very
banging goals, yeah.
Also, Ribéry, they've been playing well when called upon. So it'd be ridiculous to think that he'd immediately come in and just straight away play, because he wouldn't get the 10. He will not get the 10, not until the summer. And then maybe So it's I don't know. It doesn't seem as such a safe bet as maybe the papers try to make it out to be. But from where it's come, I think, you know, where there's so much smoke, there's got to be a fire. And I think Callum Hudson-Odoi, being the teenager that he is, he's probably emotional. He doesn't feel as wanted as he'd like to at Chelsea, although he's been there for a long time. He wants to play, and he feels maybe a bit betrayed. I do think he wants his Bayern move, but as said, he's a teenager.
Mm.
If you give him minutes, Chelsea says no in the summer, even if that means that we get a bit less money. I do think that if we give him more minutes, we can sway him, because England's England. There are not a lot of English players that want to go abroad. Because I'm sure if Callum Hudson-Odoi would be getting minutes here, and Bayern would come and say, we want him, he'd say no. Because English players prevalently want to stay in England. London, Munich isn't that great, let's face it, and the Bundesliga is a step down. It's as simple as that. It's not as competitive. What have Bayern Munich and Dortmund have been winning internationally in recent years? Nothing. So to finish things off, I think that it is coming from the player, but Chelsea can very much do a lot to influence his decision in respect to the summer.
Cool. I'm inclined to sort of agree with you. With given time, that maybe we could convince him. Andy, Jimmy made a lot of points there. Chelsea's his boyhood club. Okay, he's gone through the ranks. He will look up to the greats at Chelsea. He's from, I don't know if he's from London, but let's assume he's from London. That's probably, I can't confirm that, but he's from England. He's London culture. Saying that, there is this emergence of very cool thing to go abroad and just be like a badass. I mean, obviously, think of it from like a growing experience when like a youngster goes to uni and goes to another country. But Jadon Sancho is suddenly the coolest thing in the world, and he's going to win the Bundesliga. And some major club might buy him for 120 million or something. It doesn't necessarily mean it's his final resting place. It just looks like an amazing move. What do you think, Andy? You're the player. Again, reel off some thoughts if you're in his position. Do you want to go? And do your parents want you to go? Do you agree with Jimmy with your parents wanting you to go?
Well, if I was Callum Hudson-Odoi, of course I would feel absolutely appreciated if at 18 years of age, a club like Bayern Munich came in and put forward an offer of 40 million euros, pounds, whatever. Not a big difference these days. That, however, shows me that it's more of an excitement that is the foundation to that move, and more the thing, well, he has done it in Germany, but that's a completely, let me say that to you, right? From an Austrian who watches a lot of German football, and I started off watching German football when I was really tiny, and that's where my my passion for football came from. Bayern Munich is not Dortmund. Bayern Munich is not Leipzig. Bayern Munich is not Schalke and Hoffenheim and whatever. Bayern Munich is a completely different kettle of fish, and that's for many reasons. Bayern Munich, and that's, maybe let me start with that point. It completely worries me that Honigstein came out and said they are really interested and they are really keen to acquire him, because usually, and you can go back to certain shows that are on German TV, when someone from Bayern Munich comes out and says, we are interested in that player, almost means they have already signed him. It was the case with Mario Gomez when he went to Bayern Munich. The former director of sport and now president of Bayern Munich went to a talk show and said, yes, we are going to put in a bid. And the next day, they already had him in the Allianz Arena, shaking hands and all that. Yeah. So it almost means, if someone says that, it almost means it is done. But what I would say, as someone who watches a lot of German football, why he shouldn't go to Bayern Munich, if I was speaking to Callum Hudson-Odoi, and hopefully he listens or watches this.
He does, I DM him, yeah.
What he should think about is, I give him 3 names here, right? Or give you 3 names. Do you remember any out of these players? Jan Schlaudraff, Sinan Kurz, Julian Green. I'll give you a 4th one as well. Mitchell Weiser.
Yeah. I remember Baum-Johann.
Baum-Johann, yeah, the next one.
Go on.
These are wonder kids that went to Bayern Munich in the impression they will get the biggest of the career they can get at Bayern Munich. Not a single one of them is playing, I think, not even first-tier football in any European country whatsoever.
Wow.
So it's almost when you go there as a young player, and that might change now as they want to acquire youth now and want to give them a real chance, but no one did it. And if you are Callum Hudson-Odoi, you should really consider that Germany is not Germany. There are 3 different kettles of fish in Germany, and Bayern Munich is not the one you want to be in. That's what I can tell him for sure. So he's wasting his talent even more at Bayern Munich than he is at Chelsea, or even if that is his impression that he's wasting his talent at Chelsea, he should go to a different club, but not at Bayern Munich. For Christ's sake, don't go to Bayern Munich.
Okay, good knowledge, man. There's a few things I want to pick up on that. So, yeah, they might be doing this to try and change their image of that. Who knows, right? And you'd assume from, that's good. You guys, both of you, got good knowledge of German football. But maybe, I know Rudiger's probably getting hopefully in his ear a little bit. I mean, everyone at Chelsea would want him to stay. But with Bayern, okay, so like you say, not necessarily break in straight away. There's a sort of romance of going abroad and going to, let's look up whatever you think of Bayern. They're a European superpower, and maybe getting the number 10 shirt of Robben when he goes, which might be in the summer or whatever. But, and like you said, Andy, quite worryingly to a degree about how Bayern, if they come out with any of this, it usually means it's a done deal. So they probably said to Chelsea, they've made bids to Chelsea, and Chelsea named the price to shoo them away. And they were like, all right, there you go. And they were like, shit. So they've gone to Chelsea like, how much do you want for him? This much. All right, here you go. And they've gone to the player, rightly or wrongly, do you want to come? Yes, please. So suddenly Chelsea have gone, oh my God. And then it's gone out into the news and the media, and then everyone's like, Chelsea fans have obviously all lost their shit. Like, what are you doing? This is our wonder kid. Don't you dare. And not only that, pundits are sitting on every bloody panel football show saying, it's a disgrace. This is why would Chelsea do that? They're buying Pulisic, which is completely unrelated in a load of reasons. But you can tell why the uneducated non-Chelsea person might see that and be like, look at this, X, Y, and Z. So suddenly PR, Chelsea's not been doing great for PR recently for a multitude of reasons. And then that on top, they're thinking, God, all right, let's try and not do this. Yeah, maybe he is really good. So I want to pose another question to you guys. Playtime, like you say, you've given Real Me Off Andy some good stuff there, but I'll start with Jimmy on this one. He's, as we all know, Hudson-Odoi will have inclinations and concerns because he will look at the club. Joe Tweedy was saying yesterday about how Ruben Loftus-Cheek was the jewel in the academy crown for a few years, and it took him a very long time to, like, how is he now, 23? Hudson-Odoi's, yeah. Okay, well, 4 or 5 years, Hudson-Odoi is like, no, I'm good now. I'm not going to be floating around doing nothing for 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And he was the best one. He was the best one. Even if I'm better, what am I going to think? So you can understand that. I'm inclined to think if we can keep giving him the time we've been giving him, the game time, that we've been giving him these last few weeks, that if we continued that for 6 months, hopefully that would be enough. And would that be enough, Jimmy? And B, would he trust the club that would continue to be the case after signing said contract?
I think this is going to go to the wire, not only in January, but also in the summer. So let's say he does decide to stay and
for 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Thing is,
or a few months.
Let's say, he gets like quite a bit of time and all that, but he signs that contract. And the thing is, then in the summer, maybe we wouldn't sell anyone. Pulisic is coming in, and then you still have Willian and Pedro. Who said we clearly don't want to get rid of Willian. I can't understand why, but that is the case. So his chances with Eden Hazard also being in the squad, hopefully still.
Touch wood, everyone. Yeah.
Then maybe things would still not be looking too good. So I think he's going to wait this out as long as possible, as long as Chelsea doesn't accept that Bayern Munich offer. So I don't know. It's tough to actually foresee what could happen, because I don't think that Chelsea want to back off from this. Marin is a very firm person in that boardroom. She'll play hardball with Bayern Munich, which is one of the good things. For all the slack for all the
grief we give her,
slack and grief we give her, that is one of her virtues. She doesn't falter. in negotiations. Maybe that's sometimes a bad thing, but in this case, it's a good thing. So I don't know.
She's a canny operator, as I was pretty say.
If you'd be a betting man, you'd probably lose this bet because it could go either way. I'd say it's a 50-50 chance. I don't think that actually, even if we do give him game time, because let's face it, Sarri is going to play Willian and Pedro. He is going to play them more often than not. There are no cup competitions more soon. The Carabao Cup could be over next Thursday. Let's face it. We don't know if we'll get to the final.
We're getting through, mate. Yeah.
I know. I'm actually confident after yesterday's news or 2 days ago. But my point is, we could be out. FA Cup, that's the only other competition because in the Europa League it's going to get tough, and I don't think Hudson-Odoi is going to play regularly. So I don't know. Is he going to be happy with just 15 minutes cameos as it was against Newcastle? I don't think so because let's face it. Did you actually watch his body language against Newcastle? It was more of a. If you would have put him on at the 16th minute, I think we would have seen more. But Hudson-Odoi had barely any time to impress. And
he had played 90 minutes recently though. I don't read too much into that.
Yeah, but on the other hand, and I'll give you this, why is that the case for Hudson-Odoi, an 18-year-old who will be, got lots of stamina and so on, but not for someone like Willian or Alonso who have been underperforming for games, for weeks, but they can play every game.
Well, okay. So
they have more experience and they will have probably a better stamina because they've been, in training for a longer time. But this guy's 18-year-old and he wants to play. I get why he benched him and it makes sense, but then bring him on a bit earlier.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll concede that.
Makes no sense. We were struggling already before. Put him on 55th minute because nothing had changed really. And, that will show him, okay, I'm really the first.
Well, you put him on for Willian and he doesn't score that goal. I know that's Captain Hindsight shit, but so I just want to move it on a little bit.
He couldn't have scored that, first of all. And, the thing is, Willian does that once in
6 months. No, I'm with you. Hold on, I want to move it on a little bit from this because I agree with your sentiments generally, but I do want to say as well that I think the way we've been playing him at the moment is perfect. Wonder kid or no wonder kid for an 18-year-old because Mbappe was playing 17-18, but he was playing that much. To just drop him into a system like this, I think we're playing him more because we're realizing talent and stuff. And I think if it continues like this, that is more than enough. But I want to ask Andy something. Andy, in a club like this, you need 4 wingers, let's say, for rotation injuries, and that's each winger should be generally happy. Especially so let's say Eden Hazard, Christian Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, and then one of Willian and Pedro, because we are canny operators at Chelsea and we like making money. Even if they'll both in the summer have 1 year left on their contracts, they're worth money. Now, Willian he's a household name, whether you like him or not. He's a brandable guy. Pedro's played for Barcelona. He's won loads of trophies. Either one of those will make a few quid going to China. If Moussa Dembele from Spurs makes £8 million with 6 months left in his contract, you're going to get 20 million quid for one of those guys going to China. Do you know what I mean? The club will look to cash in on one of them, and then Hudson-Odoi can come and slot in, be that 4th winger in rotation. And even if he's playing B to Hazard for a whole nother season as a 19-year-old, but he's coming on for Hazard. He's starting other games. He's starting games when Hazard's injured. He's starting games when Hazard can't travel. That's a lot of time to be stepping. And you're under the footballing god Eden Hazard on the left. Is that enough for him? Do you think I'm just struggling to I still see an 18. I'm about to turn 30. I remember what I was like when I was 18. I could have had all the talent in the world, What do you think, Andy? Do you think he should be happy with that if he believes truly he's going to be that 4th winger in rotation?
I can only give you one-sided arguments on that one, unfortunately, but I will do so. I will continue to do so because I damn want him to stay at our club. I think what he should consider is, of course, in summer, one of, if not both of them, Pedro and Willian, are going to leave. I think it's more likely that Willian is going to leave, but he tends to go for more money, and he receives the bigger paycheck, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, also in winter, we could have got rid of him a week ago for 50 million, and by the way, allegedly, and by the way, included in that deal would have been a player who is actually decent. So
but that just brings in another winger in place in front of Hudson.
Yeah, of course, we shouldn't be doing that, but just saying he goes for money, and what we like at Chelsea is money these days, not so much success. So if we can go for money, we will do so. And I also hope it is Willian who goes out the door, because I like Pedro even more than
I do too.
More. I like Pedro more because I don't like Willian. On that regard, I think he should also consider that playing with Eden Hazard or training with Eden Hazard and being the understudy to him, he can learn an awful lot of things. Yeah. And he's 18 years of age, he has to grow, he has to mature, and he has to learn a lot of stuff. And who is there in the world at the moment on the wing you can learn better from than Eden Hazard? And if he goes to Bayern Munich, he won't get that, because Ribéry is likely to retire after the season. Robin is likely to leave or go back to Holland or somewhere.
And they're both got 7 years on him. He's close to 8. It's only 10 years. You know, he's 17 years older than him.
They are not in their peak, and they won't be there anymore. And he will play on the wing with players like Alphonso Davies, Serge Gnabry, Coman. He's probably the best player out of them, if we're honest, or the most talented even. So who should he learn from? He's not an experienced coach there in Niko Kovac.
That's true as well, yeah.
Like, stay at Chelsea, stay in a proper system, stay where your family is, stay where your friends are, and learn from the best. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's some good points. It's very good. Yeah, go on, Jimmy, go on, yeah.
Also, just in addition to that, Bayern Munich is actually currently in a period of transition itself. Because they're trying to go start with this youth development. They aren't the monolithic entity in the Bundesliga anymore. Niko Kovac, I think he's going to get sacked soon anyway, and they've just got a really aging squad. So it's going to take time if they're going to get young players in like Hudson-Odoi until the team gels, develops this, a level of coherence. That will take time. So it's very much possible that Bayern Munich won't be winning, every trophy there is domestically, and of course not European-wise, for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
It's all, one thing you always have with Chelsea, every other year you get a trophy. And if Hudson-Odoi can contribute to that, I think he'd be staying.
Yeah, it's interesting. And what I was going to pick up on, and from what you said just now, wrongly probably, is if he goes, he might be the best talent there in terms of young potential. So that might be wrongly an ego nursing thing, because obviously he's surrounded by superstars. He's still very much in academy mold at Chelsea, where, like you say, he'll go to Bayern, potentially be a record signing for them, be the new kid on the block, and be like golden boy. But that might not mean a lot if everything's crumbling to shit around you to a degree. And also, like Andy was saying, he could be the understudy of greatness rather than used to be greatness. Go on, Andy. You look like you were about to say something.
Yeah. One more thing. I think he doesn't understand, and I don't blame him for that, because he's English and he won't understand until he has actually experienced it. But when you getting chucked into the deep end at 18 years of age at Bayern Munich, and you have to be the starting winger there because the older ones have left, you will experience very soon. And he's not the finished article, so he cannot play a stable, sustained season for not even 1, and certainly not 3 on the bounce, because that's not possible at this age. So once he drops for a level or 2 during the season, he will experience what media in Germany can do to you. And the Bild newspaper is maybe even worse than the Sun. And Bayern Munich is the biggest club in the country, most following. So he will experience how hard it can be over there. Not speaking the language, by the way. So it's not a good move for him. It can honestly ruin not only his career, but also his, he can ruin everything basically with doing that. I mean, there's a risk of doing it. I'm not saying that's for certain. It can turn out brilliantly and we all look stupid. But I think if he wants to get a better opportunity to make a good career, he should stay at Chelsea.
Yeah. So let's round this up with some like a final few points then. So at the moment, it looks like a very romantic proposition of an exotic thing where he's some sort of superstar and he's, being a sort of pioneer with Sancho. There is that narrative, right? So there's that. But and then if he's got people like probably Rudiger going, yeah, you should stay. He's probably got other people in the club, Marcus Alonso publicly going out saying, why would anyone want to go to Bayern Munich? For all like Alonso's not been contributing recently, at least he gets something good in via some verbal start talking about Callum. So there is that sort of romance to it. Probably his camp saying something. But let's look at the tangibles. He's come up through Chelsea. He's won everything at youth level. He's got people that believe in them in the club. He's got pundits saying a lot of them are saying, oh yeah, if I was him, I'd go, mate, I'd go. Well, he's like fucking like 50 or things. But a lot of people saying, no, I want him to stay. He's English. He's brilliant. Let's keep him in our league. There is a lot of people saying that. Chelsea are producing a lot of coaches now, and they're all saying, yeah, he's brilliant. He can make it at Chelsea. Fans are chanting, Hudson-Odoi, we want you to stay at Stamford Bridge. It's not like he's a talent that for some reason's fallen out of fans and he's getting muscled out. There's going to be a sort of naivety to him, and there's going to be like a kid that does feel loved at Stamford Bridge. That he's done youth games where people might have cheered when he scores, but he's having like the Chelsea faithful chant his name already. That's all got to sort of tick home. People are saying on social media, we want you to stay, If he can get any assurances from the club that he might have some sort of thing in his contract where minimum appearances or something, then he probably wants to stay. I'm inclined to think that, right? If he feels like if he thinks he can play for Chelsea, he'll want to play for Chelsea. So I want to wrap it up and get both your opinions on one more thing. It's a double-barreled question. I'll start with Jimmy. Do you think Hudson-Odoi will stay for the window? And just to sort of caveat that, Sarri did say he'd like to use him later in the season. It may sort of implying that maybe he will sort of stay. And second part of the question, do you think we will realistically do enough for him to stay? And I know you could say 50-50, but I want you to sort of speak from your Chelsea heart here. Go, you first, Jimmy.
For everything that's been reported and all the things that have been said, I really want to think that he'll stay, but I've got this feeling that doesn't want to go away that he will leave. What happens then is, anyone's guess, because we'd need another winger. We've only got 3 wingers. That'd be stupid just to have them. But
Pulisic will come in when in the summer. So.
Yeah, but for the, we want to get into top 4. We want to play.
Oh, are you talking about January? Because it was a 2-part question. January, yeah. Okay. All right.
So, I don't know. I hate Bayern Munich, but they have this knack of always getting the people they want because they'd like to destroy other clubs.
Real Madrid.
It won't destroy us, but it does so in regard to the other clubs in the Bundesliga. What was your second question again? Sorry.
Well, the first question was January. The second question is if he does stay for the next half of the season and we do give him sort of these continued minutes as he's been getting, would that be enough with Chelsea fans chanting his name to not go in the summer when he has a year left, or would he sign?
So, as said, I think there's a very good possibility that he will leave in January.
But if he doesn't, and he gets more game time,
we do give him minutes. The thing is, there have been the reports that said Sarri will be using them more like as if they were new additions to this squad.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah.
But the thing is, it's all lovely to say it, but at the start of the season, he also said, yeah, Hudson-Odoi has to stay. He's, what a fantastic lad, and he'll be staying with the squad this season. Yeah. Everyone was getting the hopes up.
Same level as Willian and Pedro, he said.
As Hudson-Odoi himself will have gotten his hopes up because he was phenomenal in pre-season, and it was I love Sarri, but it was criminal waiting that long to play him, especially as our wingers haven't been as good as they were.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I don't think there will be enough. If he doesn't leave in January, I can't see Sarri giving him enough minutes due to competitions getting either really tough, because he's never going to play him against, I don't know, Napoli, for example. It's not going to happen. And in the league, he'll get like 10-minute cameos. I don't think there'll be enough. Players have to leave. If players leave, let's say Willian and Pedro leave already before the end of the season. Hey, maybe then, even though he doesn't get many minutes, then he could stay. The same with Christensen. If Luis really doesn't stay, I think Christensen is staying. Otherwise, we're going to have an additional saga if Luis does stay of Christensen leaving, which will be coming in the summer. So I think next to the minutes, it also very much depends on what Chelsea does in regard to contract talks with their senior players.
Well, I don't think they'll give extensions to Willian or Pedro personally, but I feel like the 1 year extension for Pedro was for value. I know Sarri likes him, and I agree with Andy. If one has to stay, I've got no problem with Willian.
Me too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we're in the Pedro camp. But Andy, again, to remind you of the sort of double barrel question: do you think he'll go this January? And if he doesn't, and say waits out the season, can we display enough faith for him to sign a contract?
I would love to say the same thing I've said a few weeks ago, where I said he's just playing hardball, getting a good contract, and then staying for a long time. All the reports that have been out since the day I've said that point into a different direction, unfortunately. And with Bayern Munich saying that, and knowing Bayern Munich for over a decade now and how they deal, I'm almost certain that he leaves in that transfer window. If he doesn't, and I hope that's the case, we will not do enough to convince him to stay. I can't see it, and he will leave in summer. However, there's one possibility, I think, that needs a lot of luck. We need an injury. We need an injury to either Willian or Pedro, that he gets his playing time. And one shouldn't pray for an injury of a Chelsea player. But if I had one wish, it would be Willian to sprain his ankle or something, and Callum Hudson-Odoi stays and wins major trophies with Chelsea and becomes a true blue for all his playing time until he's 30 and beyond that. But that's wishful thinking, and I don't think that will happen. So stick to the first two versions of my argument, and I think that's a high likelihood that is going to happen.
We here at the Attacking Three do not condone any injuries to any Chelsea players. We all want Callum Hudson-Odoi to stay, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like a difficult thing, and certainly a very dramatic saga that's going on. But with that, we've expressed our opinions and a lot of concerns along the way. But it's looking up at Chelsea generally on the whole, with Higgins incoming, looks very likely. And
Higgins.
Higgins, Higgy, mate. There's Higgy. I've got a few, mate. Anyway, thank you to my co-hosts, the Attacking Two, Jimmy and Andy. This is part 2 of the latest episode of the Attacking Three Transfer Talk. Provided there's more chat and nonsense in the newspaper, we will be back before the window ends, I'm sure. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me, and we will see you later.